When you are met with a limitation, a perceived limitation, be reminded that you can always explore your imagination. And don't only be reminded by this video, be reminded by your experience. Allow everything to remind you that your imagination is so powerful. It is a gift. Can you recall a time as a child where you utilized your imagination freely? Can you recall a time where you attempted to utilize your imagination, and yet it seemed as though you were not allowed, or you were not celebrated? Perhaps your experience or your expression of your gift, that being your imagination, was thwarted, was not received well. Understand that in that experience, you may have been discouraged or led in a different direction, in a positive way, a negative way, it doesn't matter. Whatever has influenced you to forget or leave behind the immense gift that is your imagination, allow that to surface, allow that to come into your awareness at any given moment, specifically when you're perceiving a limitation. Doesn't matter what that limitation could be. It could be a limitation that is directly affecting you. It could be a limitation that you are witnessing affecting everybody, or a workplace, a familial space where you're in a home. Allow the reminder to come up that your imagination can assist you through the difficulties that surface when you are perceiving a limitation, and when that limitation that you perceive persists. So there is what appears to be a limitation, and then there is the limitation itself. So I suppose I'm implying that the limitation that you perceive is illusory, and that you can transform it by exploring imaginal scenes. And that doesn't necessarily have to look any one particular way. It can be immensely painful to persist in a limitation that causes you pain and that makes you experience lack of a genuine need. And even when there are those aspects that you are responsible for, taking responsibility, being accountable, are present, there is also this other element of things that have created a state of mind that you perhaps are not aware of, or you are aware of and don't know how to move through those, that are stemming from a disconnection from that practice. I see very clearly that your imagination is just as important or as relevant as drinking water that is healthy. you can use your imagination in ways that will keep you persisting in your state of lack or in your diseased state of mind and a state of depression, state of anxiety, fear. And when these imaginal scenes are playing over and over again without your realization, without your awareness, you are not utilizing your imagination consciously. So when we train ourselves to be reminded of this gift in moments where you are perceiving the lack or you're locked into that, that cycle, you can start to shift back into positively experiencing that gift. And the more you do that, the more you will be centered in your awareness. So yes, your experience is real. Your experience is unique to you. Nobody knows what that's like for you, why that is the way that it is for you.
My bad.
And that can feel very lonely. That can feel very disheartening, discouraging. That sense of, nobody understands me. Nobody ever will. Nobody ever can. But again, this is a thought form that arises for so many reasons, so many valid reasons. But one of the main things that I see is that occurring because of the severing of that connection to your imagination. The development, just like you develop, just like a child develops naturally, there are certain stages in life where perhaps a pregnant mother will be able to consume certain foods that will assist with her development as the child develops within her. There are ways in which your imagination must be developed. So imagine a world where in which you're not even allowed to, that it's not valued, and how many mental patterns of instability may arise from that. It only takes one moment to there is something called aphantasia, I believe that's the word, where you close your eyes and somebody says, well, imagine a red balloon. And that person is unable to imagine a red balloon in their mind. So there is a diagnosis or a label, a name, where in which people can't imagine. It does not have to look any one particular way. There's plenty of people who can't imagine themselves doing something. I could never imagine myself going to run a marathon. I could never imagine myself being prosperous in this life. I could never imagine a world that is harmonious, especially with all that we're facing. The very thought that you can't completely obliterates the experience. It does not allow for there even being a chance. So when you diagnose yourself to having something such as aphantasia, where you can't imagine a red balloon, then guess what? You're not going to be able to imagine that red balloon. So it can serve to omit certain thought forms, as true as it might be, or as that it might seem for you right now. If you can allow yourself to just leave the limitation to the side. Put the limitation to rest. It could be there, it could be present within you, but you do not feed into it. And for those of you who feel relatively confident in exploring your imagination, if there is ever a moment where you're met with a challenge, or you are even in the midst of it right now, again, allow yourself to separate, create some space between yourself and that limitation. When you create space, you're able to start to create more, to direct your energy. You have more control. And this is self-control. You can start small. And often, when we observe, you can close your eyes and just observe. And within your imagination, allow a single rose to be presented to you. Something simple, a coconut. Things will build as you allow them to. You can create a crazy scene. You can say, well, I'm at the beach and, there's monkeys dancing in a circle, and all of a sudden pianos start falling from the sky and none of them hit the monkeys in the circle. It's a crazy thing to imagine, right? But there's so many pianos falling, but none of them seem to be hitting the ring of monkeys. I don't know where this is coming from, y'all. Just an example. Or you can choose a single point, an object, and control what is appearing, adding one thing at a time. So this is just to highlight that there are many different ways that you can go about this. You can create a whole scene. You can add things one by one. You can have different elements to your imagination. These can be emotional elements, physical, energetic elements to your imaginal scene. So instead of feeding into the limitation that has kept you in a state in which you feel depleted on any given level, you can create this space, come into that realization that you have this gift, that it is readily available to you at any time, and you can explore this imaginal scene. That is not to disassociate from the reality that you're experiencing, but to recognize that when you shift the focus in those moments where perhaps you've been in a pattern of behavior, that it takes work to cut that pattern of behavior, but it is simply a pattern nonetheless. So to truly come into that awareness, increasingly so throughout your experience, and then instead of putting yourself into this downward spiral, again, you are setting a new tone. You're creating a new pattern of behavior, in which there is no longer, or there is less and less of this limitation that actually will perpetuate imbalances that are not preferred or that have been prevalent in your experience. There are so many resources or in which you are able to have people share with you ways in which you can explore your imagination. So again, when you are met with a limitation, even if you are a relatively healthy person, you feel empowered within yourself, allow yourself to use that gift. And at the very least, allow yourself to identify if that gift has not developed within you, has not been nurtured, or has been severed from your experience at an early age. And you can start opening that door. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that happened to you, and coming into this awareness, you open that door and it turns out you're a master. So, I don't know. I just kind of felt that. So, yes, that is all. Thank you for watching, and I'm wishing you wellness. I'm wishing you the most incredible imaginal scenes that uplift you, no matter where you find yourself.
After it's the process, yeah, transmuting. The point is moving void. I do not avoid my feelings. Let's do a little bit of I usually like haul, but I'm kind of feeling a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or a little bit of this, or a little bit of that, or this. Oh.